This is the ultimate controversial F1 driver's iceberg. The tip of the iceberg. Jenson Button is wet weather GOAT. Jenson Button had a unique, fluid driving style that, while not always yielding the fastest single lap times and making him reliant on car setup, showcased his talent for tire management and expertise in variable weather conditions. His first victory occurred in rain in Hungary in 2006, and despite starting fourth in dry conditions during qualifying, an engine change pushed him down to 14th on the grid. However, he swiftly climbed the ranks in the early laps, reaching fourth by lap 7. Opting to remain on track during a safety car period elevated him to second behind Fernando Alonso, whose misfortune during a pit stop handed Button a comfortable lead, resulting in a triumph with a significant 30-second gap over Pedro de la Rosa. Subsequent races saw a mix of challenges and successes, notably his remarkable comeback at the Canadian Grand Prix in 2011, where despite setbacks including a drive-through penalty and puncture, he surged from last place to clinch victory on the final lap. Button's final career win occurred at the rain-soaked Brazilian Grand Prix in 2012, where strategic decisions and exceptional driving in adverse conditions secured him the top spot on the podium. Schumacher in Monaco 2006. We go back to 2006 when Michael Schumacher put on his overalls that donned a special livery for the Monaco Grand Prix. The streets of Monte Carlo were his specialty, having won there on 5 occasions with the German's eyes set on a 6th triumph. However, Schumacher, who was no stranger to crossing the line in order to get any advantage he could, did just that in search of pole. Schumacher was fast during qualifying, so fast in fact, but still, the Ferrari driver was far from confident. Yes, he had set the fastest time, but behind him other drivers were looking to leapfrog him, namely title rival Fernando Alonso. In response, the German came up with a plan that was simple, but one that was naive. At the final hairpin of the circuit, Rakasi, Schumacher locked up his wheels and slid straight for the walls, while the German's Ferrari stopped just in time and avoided the barriers of Monte Carlo. Yellow flags waved and everyone behind him had to slow down, ending their hopes of taking pole from the German. He had done it yet again. Or had he? Almost immediately, eyebrows were raised as to what exactly happened and whether or not it was intentional. After all, someone of Schumacher's skill didn't make those kind of mistakes, even though he defended himself, calling his final lap just a touch too much. Many were convinced that the Ferrari veteran would have made the corner had he chosen to, with his final twist of the steering wheel conveniently keeping his Ferrari out of the barriers. While the stewards announced they would be investigating the matter, several of Schumacher's peers came out and voiced their displeasure. Former rival and 1997 F1 champion Jacques Villeneuve was perhaps the most vocal. "There's no way you can make a mistake like that," said the Canadian, who collided with Schumacher at the final race of the 1997 season that saw him clinch the title. "I hope it was deliberate, because if you could make a mistake like that, you shouldn't drive a race car." In the end, the stewards weren't convinced by the German's explanation, stripping him of the pole and sending him to the back of the grid. Alonso, the man that Schumacher was trying to keep off pole, was promoted to P1. The Spaniard would go on to take victory in the 2006 title, with McLaren's Juan Pablo Montoya coming in second and Red Bull's David Coulthard rounding out the podium. Schumacher would battle back and finish 5th, with then Ferrari teammate Felipe Massa shedding some light on what happened that day back in 2020. "We had a meeting with the team. We were talking about the qualifying," the Brazilian told Sky Sports F1 documentary The Race to Perfection. "Then you had 2 sets of tires for the qualifying. And Michael said something, 'Yeah, but I mean, if we are quicker straight away and then we go in for the second set,' and Russ Brown said, 'Maybe we can create a yellow flag.' And I said, 'For fun, not seriously, for fun.' It happens exactly that way." So Michael used that funny thing for him to do. I remember after that meeting I said, "I can't believe he did it." He did it, and then the only thing is he was not able to say that he did it. It took 1 year for him to tell me that he did it on purpose. 1 year. I said, "How can you do that?" It shows that everybody makes mistakes in life, and this was definitely one of them. Hamilton 2007 crane assistance. At the 2007 European Grand Prix at the Nürburgring in Germany, the atmosphere was tense as dark clouds loomed overhead despite the dry track conditions. Marcus Winkelhock, a debutant, took a bold gamble by opting for intermediate tires as he pitted at the end of the formation lap, contrasting with the rest of the field starting on slicks, and as rain suddenly cascaded onto the circuit, chaos ensued, with drivers struggling to maintain control as they navigated the treacherous conditions. Lewis Hamilton, facing disappointment with a 10th place qualification, showed early promise by climbing to 6th at the race's onset. However, his fortunes quickly soured when a spinning Robert Kubica caused him to suffer a puncture at turn 2, relegating him to the rear of the pack. Following suit with most competitors, Hamilton dove into the pits for intermediate tires after the first lap. The intensifying rain transformed sections of the track into hazardous rivers, leading to multiple incidents including Jenson Button's lockup and subsequent slide into the gravel trap on lane 3, and Hamilton found himself in a similar predicament shortly thereafter. While some drivers like Adrian Sutil, Nico Rosberg, and Scott Speed found themselves stranded in the gravel, others like Anthony Davidson managed to extricate themselves and continue, and with safety concerns mounting, the deployment of the safety car became imperative. In the middle of all that chaos, Tonio Liuzzi narrowly avoided a collision with a safety car and lightly brushed against the recovery. In a remarkable display of determination, Hamilton remained undeterred, keeping his engine running and signaling to the recovery crew to return him to the track, and despite being relegated to 17th and last, 1 lap behind the new race leader Winkelhock, Hamilton pressed on. Ultimately, the race was red flagged 2 laps later, and when proceedings resumed, Hamilton soldiered on but finished outside the points for the first time in his Formula One career. Piquet's insults. Nelson Piquet, the Brazilian racing legend from the 1980s, won 3 drivers' titles, 23 Grand Prix races, and achieved 60 podium finishes. He is the head of a racing family with sons Nelsinho and Pedro, and daughter Kelly, who is married to the current Formula One champion Max Verstappen. Piquet's exceptional driving skills on the track firmly established him as one of the standout drivers of his time. However, off-track, his outspoken nature often ostracized him, earning him a reputation as an outsider. In a notable instance, he turned down an offer from McLaren due to his aversion to extensive PR obligations, stating his reluctance to engage with those unfamiliar with the racing world. Despite his successes, Piquet's career trajectory took a controversial turn when he left Williams for Lotus, only to find himself overshadowed by his compatriot Ayrton Senna, and Piquet's jealousy fueled derogatory remarks towards Senna and other peers, tarnishing his reputation even further. Even in retirement, Piquet's controversial comments continued, resulting in his indefinite ban from Formula One events and legal repercussions. His inflammatory remarks, including a racially charged comment about Lewis Hamilton, further compounded his troubles, leading to significant repercussions and public backlash. Piquet's legacy, marred by his tendency to speak without filter, serves as a cautionary tale about the impact of unchecked words in the public sphere. Jev is the GOAT. Okay, so in 1950, Giuseppe Farina became the inaugural Formula One Drivers' Champion. In 1955, Farina was beaten by Ferrari teammate Maurice Trintignant. In 1954, Trintignant was beaten by Ferrari teammate Mike Hawthorne. In 1957, Hawthorne was beaten by Ferrari teammate Luigi Musso. In 1955, Musso was beaten by Maserati teammate Gene Barra. In 1956, Barra was beaten by Maserati teammate Sterling Moss. In 1959, Moss was beaten by fellow Cooper driver Jack Brabham. In 1967, Brabham was beaten by Brabham teammate Denny Hulme. In 1974, Hulme was beaten by McLaren teammate Emerson Fittipaldi. In 1973, Fittipaldi was beaten by Lotus teammate Ronnie Peterson. In 1978, Peterson was beaten by Lotus teammate Mario Andretti. In 1981, Andretti was beaten by Alfa Romeo teammate Bruno Giacomelli. In 1983, Giacomelli was beaten by Toleman teammate Derek Warwick. In 1986, Warwick was beaten by Brabham teammate Riccardo Patrese. In 1993, Patrese was beaten by Benetton teammate Michael Schumacher. From 2010 to 2012, Schumacher was beaten by Mercedes teammate Nico Rosberg. In 2006, Rosberg was beaten by Williams teammate Mark Webber. From 2019 to 2013, Webber was beaten by Red Bull teammate Sebastian Vettel. In 2014, Vettel was beaten by Red Bull teammate Daniel Ricciardo. In 2015, Ricciardo was beaten by Red Bull teammate Daniel Kvyat. And in 2014, Kvyat was beaten by Toro Rosso teammate Jean-Éric Vergne. So we can conclude here that Eric Vergne is the greatest F1 driver of all time, right? I mean, do you deny our logic? Baghetti's debut win. In recent years, Formula One has witnessed several remarkable debut performances, from Lewis Hamilton's third-place finish to Kevin Magnussen's second-place achievement. However, none of these newcomers quite rival the spectacular debut of Giancarlo Baghetti. Born in Italy, Baghetti initially dabbled in sports car racing in the mid-1950s. However, his career trajectory shifted dramatically in 1961 when he was selected by the Italian Automobile Team Federation to pilot a Ferrari 156 in non-championships Grand Prix. Against all odds, Baghetti stunned the motorsport world by winning both the Syracuse and Napoli Grand Prix. This success led to a call-up for the French Grand Prix at Reims, a World Championship event, and despite using an original 156 with a less powerful engine compared to the factory drivers, Beghetti showcased formidable race pace. Starting from 10th on the grid, he steadily carved his way through the field, eventually finding himself in contention for victory. As fate would have it, mechanical issues plagued the frontrunners, propelling Beghetti into the lead. In a nail-biting final lap duel with Dan Gurney, Beghetti clinched victory by a mere 1/10 of a second, becoming the first driver to win their first 3 Grand Prix, and his achievement echoed the feats of Giuseppe Farina and Johnny Parsons, cementing his place in Formula One history. Despite his remarkable debut season, Beghetti's subsequent career failed to replicate the earlier success. He only managed one more non-championship victory in 1961 and never secured a podium finish in official Formula One races. Retiring from full-time racing in 1968, Beghetti pursued photography until his untimely death from cancer in 1995, leaving behind a legacy of an unforgettable debut and a brief but impactful presence in the world of motorsport. Surface level. Max Verstappen was rigged to win Spain 2016. Following Daniil Kvyat's double collision with Sebastian Vettel at the 2016 Sochi race, which incidentally also involved Daniel Ricciardo, Helmut Marko made the decision to demote Kvyat to Toro Rosso and promote Max Verstappen to Red Bull earlier than planned, owing to Verstappen's impressive debut in 2015. Subsequently, at the Barcelona Grand Prix, Verstappen qualified 4th, trailing Ricciardo, while the Mercedes duo secured the front row as expected. Hamilton and Rosberg's early exit from the race at turn 4 set the stage for an engaging competition, with Ricciardo leading and Verstappen closely behind, followed by Carlos Sainz, who had overtaken the Ferraris of Vettel and Raikkonen. Although Ricciardo and Verstappen initially built a lead over Sainz, their advantage diminished after the Ferraris made strategic moves. While Verstappen adhered to a planned 2-stop strategy, Ricciardo opted for 3 stops due to Ferrari's strong long-run pace. Their strategies converged during the first round of pit stops, transitioning to medium tires. Ricciardo and Vettel made their second stops in close succession, followed by Verstappen and Raikkonen for an extended second stint on mediums. Despite attempts to regain positions, neither Raikkonen nor Ricciardo, who suffered a late puncture, could challenge Verstappen's lead. Verstappen clinched his maiden victory, becoming the youngest Formula One race winner, which didn't bode well with Ricciardo over team strategy favoritism and sparking conspiracy theories about intentional manipulation of the race outcome. Seal Galil mystery crash. For those unfamiliar, Sean Galil is an Indonesian driver currently active in the World Endurance Championship. Prior to his WEC endeavors, Galil spent several years competing in both GP2 and Formula 2, securing occasional Friday practice seats with Toro Rosso. Despite delivering mediocre performances, Galil's access to these opportunities can be attributed to his father, who owns the Indonesian franchise of KFC. In his final Formula 2 season in 2020, driving for Dams alongside teammate Dan Ticktum, Galil struggled to make an impact. By the conclusion of the first 4 rounds, Galil had only accumulated 3 points compared to Ticktum's 59. During the feature race at Catalunya, Galil experienced a harrowing accident on the final lap. Losing control while braking for turn 12, he collided with a sausage curb, causing his car to slide sideways with his front tires lifted off the ground, ultimately crashing into Jack Aitken. Galil sustained a serious back injury from the impact, forcing him to not only miss the subsequent sprint race, but also the next 4 rounds of competition. A notable aspect of this incident is its limited coverage during the original broadcast, despite its severity. However, a brief glimpse of the accident was later observed in the background of another shot. Some speculate that this lack of coverage could be attributed to the FIA's attempt to mitigate criticism surrounding the use of sausage curb. This concern was underscored by a similar incident involving Alex Peroni in Formula 3 at Monza the previous year, where a sausage curb catapulted him into the catch fencing, resulting in a back injury. Fangio's kidnapping. Before the 1980s, non-championship events often accompanied the official Grand Prix, which counted towards drivers' record. It was common for drivers to participate in more of these events in a year than the official race. In 1957, Cuban President Fulgencio Batista inaugurated the Cuban Grand Prix, held on a street circuit in Havana, the nation's capital. The debut race was won by defending champion Juan Manuel Fangio. After clinching his 5th driver's title that year, Fangio returned for the 1958 race. Despite setting the fastest practice times, Fangio's race day took a dramatic turn when he was abducted from his hotel room at the Hotel Lincoln by 2 gunmen associated with the 26th of July movement, a radical organization led by communist revolutionary Fidel Castro. President Batista promptly ordered the city into lockdown and stationed guards at all airports and for all other drivers, but the race race proceeded as planned. The captors moved Fangio between 3 different locations across the city. Despite being provided with access to radio and television coverage of the race, Fangio, ever apolitical, refused to engage with the captors regarding their revolutionary agenda. Fangio was eventually handed over to the Argentine embassy after 29 hours in captivity, remarking on the respectful treatment he received despite him being blindfolded. Although the captors failed to achieve their immediate objectives, the kidnapping dealt a blow to Batista's dwindling popularity and credibility as he was unable to locate the perpetrators. Less than a year later, Batista was ousted from power and Castro assumed control. The Cuban Grand Prix was canceled that year, but made a final return in 1960. Jensen's contract mess. Jensen Button emerged as a sought-after talent in the early 2000s, making his Formula One debut with Williams in 2000 at just 20 years old. Button swiftly transitioned to the Enstone-based Benetton team, later Renault, in 2001, before joining BAR, British American Racing, in 2003 on a 2-year contract with an option for extension. His breakthrough year came in 2004, despite Ferrari's overwhelming dominance. Although he failed to secure a race win, Button's impressive performance yielded 10 podium finishes and 1 pole position, earning him 3rd place in the Drivers' Championship and assisting BAR in securing 2nd place in the Constructors' Championship. Amidst this success, Button's decision to leave BAR for Williams at the end of the season raised eyebrows. Despite being the lead driver at BAR during their ascent, Button believed Williams, with their factory team status and BMW engine partnership, offered better prospects for championship contention. However, Button's attempted move to Williams was met with legal complications. A dispute arose over the implementation of a 2-year contract extension with BAR, with Button's management team initially claiming he was a free agent for the upcoming season. BAR's resistance led to a protracted legal battle, ultimately resulting in Button staying with the team. In the following season, changes in regulations hampered BAR's competitiveness, coupled with technical infringements leading to penalties. Despite signing a pre-contract with Williams for 2006, Button's decision to remain with BAR, which soon became Honda Racing, proved fortuitous when Honda bought out the team, establishing themselves as a manufacturer outfit. Button's subsequent years with Honda were challenging, but it set the stage for his triumphant 2009 season with Braun GP, culminating in his World Championship victory. Now, almost 2 decades later, Button has returned to Williams in a senior advisory role, making a full-circle journey in his illustrious career. Yuji Ide. Yuji Ide has an unfortunate place in the history of Formula One. The Japanese racer only took part in 4 Grand Prix for the Super Aguri squad back in 2006, coming in as a 31-year-old rookie. After tipping Christian Albers into a barrel roll on the opening lap of the San Marino Grand Prix, the FIA stepped in to revoke Ide's super license until he had gained more experience. 18 years later, Ide's super license is still revoked after he headed back to Japan in Super GT racing. The odds were stacked against Ide, meaning he never really got a fair crack at Grand Prix racing. His Grand Prix debut was plagued by retirements and lackluster finishes, with his most notable achievement being a 13th place finish in Australia, 3 laps down on the race winner Fernando Alonso. Ide's stint in Formula One was brief and punctuated by incidents such as his collision with Christian Albers in Imola, which marked the end of his F1 career. Returning to Japan after having his super license revoked by the FIA, Ide transitioned to Super GT racing, where he found relative success, securing a victory at Suzuka in 2010. In 2022, he made a partial return to racing, achieving a 2nd-place finish at Fuji and a 6th-place finish at Suzuka. While Ide may not have flourished in Formula One, it is unfair to dismiss him as entirely lacking in talent. Despite facing significant challenges, including the unfavorable circumstances of his F1 debut, Ide proved to be a competent racing driver. Ultimately, his time in F1 highlighted the immense difficulty of competing at the highest level of motorsport, and there's no shame in acknowledging that he was simply out of his depth in that arena. Mid-level. Kimi should have 3 titles. Kimi Räikkönen's quest for Formula One championship glory is a story filled with intricacies, setbacks, and moments of sheer brilliance. Emerging onto the Grand Prix scene with Sauber, Räikkönen swiftly caught the attention of the paddock with his raw talent and fearless approach. However, it was his pivotal move to McLaren in 2002 that catapulted him into the spotlight, stepping into the shoes of none other than his esteemed compatriot, Mika Häkkinen. The transition to McLaren marked the beginning of Räikkönen's journey towards the peak of motorsport success. Paired with the formidable MP417, Räikkönen showcased glimpses of brilliance amidst a framework of unreliability, and despite the car's shortcomings, Räikkönen displayed remarkable consistency, never finishing outside the top 4 in races and clinching his maiden victory at Sepang circuit in 2003. It was a sign of things to come, a foreshadowing of Räikkönen's impending ascension to championship contention. Yet, the path to glory was filled with obstacles as the 2003 season witnessed Räikkönen engaged in a fierce battle for supremacy with the likes of Michael Schumacher and Juan Pablo Montoya. Despite securing victories and podium finishes, including an initial triumph at Interlagos swiftly revoked due to technicalities, Räikkönen found himself locked in a tight championship battle. The pendulum of fortune swung precariously, with Schumacher's dominance and Montoya's emergence posing formidable challenges to Raikkonen's aspirations. The narrative took a dramatic turn with the start of the 2003 European summer. As Ferrari and Williams closed in on McLaren's championship charge, Raikkonen found himself embroiled in a tumultuous battle shaped by technical nuances and strategic gambits. The expanded point system and Bridgestone's tire troubles provided a backdrop of uncertainty, amplifying the stakes of each race of a racing icon. Rene Provost. Colin Chapman's impact on Formula One car design and the broader realm of race car engineering remains unparalleled in history. His tenure at Lotus saw the introduction of groundbreaking innovations that reshaped the sport. These included the pioneering of the monocoque chassis, aerodynamic wings, side-mounted radiators, ground effect cars, carbon fiber chassis, twin chassis, and active suspension system. Notably, the Lotus 78, a groundbreaking ground effect car, set the stage for a significant aerodynamic revolution that continues to influence Formula One today. However, the roots of ground effect can be traced back much earlier to Rene Provost, a relatively obscure figure born in France in 1886. Provost's expertise lay in aviation and aerospace engineering, and in 1928, he proposed a revolutionary concept for car design aimed at maximizing stability and minimizing air resistance. His visionary idea involved creating a car with an inverted aerofoil-shaped underside, akin to a catamaran, which would generate downforce and enhance cornering speeds. Despite crafting sketches and a wind tunnel model, Provost's concept failed to garner interest or support, and no working prototype was ever developed. Nevertheless, his pioneering work laid the foundation for the eventual discovery of ground effect by Colin Chapman and the Lotus engineering team decades later. Provost's design, distinct from Lotus's later iteration, featured a large Venturi tunnel beneath the driver's seat and engine, optimizing aerodynamic efficiency. In retrospect, computational fluid dynamics simulations conducted in 2011 demonstrated the potential effectiveness of Provost's design, suggesting it could have generated substantial downforce, albeit with challenges such as high-speed understeer and structural weaknesses. Provost's visionary thinking, ahead of his time, underscores his status as an unsung hero in the evolution of automotive engineering. While Provost's contributions went unrecognized during his lifetime, his foresight and innovation ultimately influenced the future of Formula One car design. His story serves as a testament to the power of visionary thinking and the enduring impact of groundbreaking ideas, even when they remain unrecognized in their time. Nasser's sabotage. Sauber's treatment of drivers can be compared to Henry VIII's approach to wives, with Felipe Nasser being just one casualty in a long line. Joining as a rookie in 2015 alongside Marcus Ericsson, Nasser made a strong debut, finishing fifth and outscoring Ericsson throughout the season. However, 2016 saw a decline in performance for Sauber, with both drivers struggling at the back of the grid, compounded by financial troubles. Nasser's pivotal moment came at Interlagos, his home race, where he secured 2 critical points, ensuring Sauber's 10th place in the Constructors' Championship. Yet, his actions inadvertently led to Manor's demise, as they missed out on crucial prize money. Despite this, Nasser found himself without a drive for 2017 after failing to secure a seat elsewhere and losing sponsorship. Allegations of favoritism towards Ericsson surfaced, with Nasser claiming that upgrades were given to his teammate first and his car was tampered with. Monisha Kettleborn's cold treatment towards Nasser intensified, leading to his replacement for the following season. Pascal Wehrlein succeeded Nasser but faced similar challenges. Despite outperforming Ericsson and scoring points, he too experienced suspicions of favoritism and dissatisfaction with the car's handling. Ultimately, he was dropped at the end of the year, while Ericsson continued with the team, later partnered with Charles Leclerc. Sauber's transition to Alfa Romeo marked Ericsson's departure, overshadowed by his underperformance compared to his rookie teammate. Despite suspicions of sabotage, Ericsson's track record against teammates remained unimpressive, culminating in his exit from Formula One. George is gay. Following Nikita Mazepin's signing for Haas for the 2021 season, his reputation took another hit as additional stories about his behavior both on and off the track surfaced. One notable incident occurred when his close friend, George Russell, went live on Instagram. Mazepin, in a seemingly jesting manner, commented in the live chat about having a secret concerning Russell, hinting at something people might interpret as a coming out. While it's unlikely that Mazepin intended to unveil any deeply personal information about Russell, the comment raised eyebrows. Russell, who is officially spoken for, has a penchant for presenting himself well and has an eye for fashion. Despite the comment, Russell never acknowledged it, and it's likely perceived as harmless banter between friends, albeit perhaps more fitting for teenagers rather than adults. However, such behavior is not entirely unexpected from someone like Mazepin, whose affluent background may contribute to a perceived immaturity. Alternatively, the comment could be interpreted simply as a playful attempt to quell the ongoing speculation on Twitter, humorlessly suggesting that Russell might align with the Conservative Party. Schumacher was fired. Michael Schumacher's announcement of his retirement from Formula One at the end of the 2006 season, made in the post-race press conference following his victory at the Italian Grand Prix, sent shockwaves through the motorsport community. Despite being 37 years old and having raced in Formula One for over 15 years, Schumacher's racecraft remained as sharp as ever, and he was embroiled in a tight title battle with defending champion Fernando Alonso. Only 2 points behind Alonso in the championship standings, and with his 90th victory securing Ferrari's lead in the Constructors' Championship, Schumacher had the opportunity to exit either graciously in defeat or as an unprecedented 8-time drivers' champion. However, speculation arose as to whether Schumacher's retirement was entirely voluntary or if he was nudged towards it. With Rubens Barrichello already departed, Ferrari had their eyes set on younger talents like Kimi Räikkönen and Fernando Alonso, both more than a decade younger than Schumacher and at the peak of their careers. Ferrari's president, Luca Di Montezemolo, favored Alonso, while CEO Jean Todt, a close confidant of Schumacher and part of the renowned Dream Team, leaned towards Räikkönen. Ultimately, Räikkönen secured the seat, with Alonso joining McLaren. Schumacher likely wouldn't have relished the prospect of having a driver of Räikkönen or Alonso's caliber as a teammate, making Felipe Massa, Barrichello's replacement, a more suitable number 2. Interestingly, Ferrari issued a press release announcing Schumacher's retirement before Schumacher himself made the announcement. His performances in the remainder of the season, particularly his remarkable drive in the final race from 10th to 6th to 19th to 4th, highlighted that he still had plenty to offer. Indeed, Schumacher didn't fully retire, returning to full-time racing over 3 years later. However, his time away had taken its toll, and his final 3 years in Formula One failed to meet expectations. Schumacher's departure also marked the dissolution of the Dream Team. Ross Brawn and Rory Byrne left as technical director and chief designer, respectively, to take sabbaticals, while Jean Todt departed as CEO at the end of 2008 to assume the role of FIA president. Deeper middle level. Sophia Flörsch, Sex, Breakfast of Champions. James Hunt, renowned for his playboy image and occasional forays into Formula One racing, famously sported a badge on his racing overalls declaring, "Sex, Breakfast of Champions." This emblem, embodying Hunt's hedonistic lifestyle, became an emblem of his persona. In 2018, a snapshot surfaced on Instagram, revealing Sophia Flörsch, a then 15-year-old European Formula 3 driver, donning a jacket emblazoned with this iconic insignia. Additionally, she proudly displayed a sticker bearing the same slogan on her car during her races in ADAC Formula 4. The concept of paid drivers permeates the motorsport world, exemplifying the increasingly exorbitant costs associated with Formula One participation. While talent undoubtedly plays a role, financial backing has become an indispensable prerequisite for securing a seat in the pinnacle of motorsport. Lance Stroll and Nicholas Lafferty epitomize this phenomenon, their billionaire fathers providing the requisite financial muscle for their careers. Zhu Guanyu's trajectory in Formula One further underscores this reality, supported by a significant sum from the Chinese government. Despite talented contenders like Oscar Piastri, financial backing often eclipses pure merit in securing coveted spots on the grid. Contrasting these contemporary examples are drivers like Lando Norris, whose familial wealth does not overshadow his evident talent and success in junior racing series. While his access to top-tier resources cannot be denied, Norris's achievements speak for themselves, mitigating any accusations of being merely a pay driver. In contrast, the likes of Sebastian Vettel and Lewis Hamilton emerged from modest backgrounds, relying on sheer determination and skill to propel their careers forward. Their ascent through the ranks was marked by self-funding and perseverance, ultimately leading to lucrative contracts without the need for personal sponsors. Russell never had a puncture. Now, let's delve into a conspiracy theory that makes you wonder. Following the 2020 Bahrain Grand Prix, a sequence of events unfolded that set tongues wagging within the Formula One community, and Lewis Hamilton, the reigning champion, tested positive for COVID-19, forcing him to sit out the subsequent Sakir Grand Prix. Enter George Russell, the talented young driver from Williams, catapulted into the limelight with a chance to showcase his prowess in the coveted Mercedes seat. During the last-minute call-up in the ill-fitting Mercedes gear, Russell delivered a stellar performance, qualifying second on the grid, mere fractions behind his teammate Valtteri Bottas. As the race commenced, Russell's lightning start propelled him to the lead until a collision between Leclerc and Verstappen prompted a safety car deployment. From there, Russell's commanding lead seemed assured until a series of unfortunate events unfolded. A pit stop blunder, unprecedented for a team renowned for its precision, saw Russell fitted with the wrong tires, derailing his victory bid. Subsequent misfortune stuck in the form of a phantom puncture, robbing Russell of a triumphant debut win and raising eyebrows among spectators. Was it merely a sequence of unfortunate events, or something more sinister at play? Speculation swirled that Russell's exceptional performance posed a threat to the status quo within Mercedes, with whispers of Russell potentially challenging the established hierarchy, including Hamilton and Bottas. Whispers of sabotage surfaced. The pit stop debacle and mysterious puncture, anomalies in an otherwise flawless operation, fueled theories of foul play aimed at thwarting Russell's ascent. As the season drew to a close, Hamilton's hurried return for the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix raised eyebrows, further fueling suspicions of orchestrated interference. With Mercedes securing both titles, the timing seemed opportune for a calculated move to quell Russell's meteoric rise. Yet, amidst the conjecture, voices dismissed such notions as mere conspiracy, attributing mishaps to unfortunate coincidence. Barrichello's Star of David. In 1995, Rubens Barrichello made a significant change to his helmet design, incorporating a 5-pointed star on top of it. The inspiration behind this addition stemmed from a remark made to him, suggesting that someone in the sky is looking at you, thus imbuing the star with symbolic significance as a harbinger of good fortune. However, by mid-2009, observers noted a subtle transformation in the star's shape, now bearing 6 points rather than 5, and this change prompted speculation and online rumors suggesting a connection to the Star of David. A prominent symbol in Judaism, some even speculated that Barrichello might have had Jewish ancestry, possibly stemming from a grandfather in Italy. Amidst the swirling speculation, Barrichello stepped forward to clarify the matter, and he affirmed that he does not have Jewish heritage and emphasized his adherence to the Catholic faith, a commonality among many Brazilians. Instead, Barrichello revealed that he approached the star as a symbol of personal spirituality and good luck, rather than specifically associating it with the Star of David. For him, the star represented a source of energy and positive vibes, reflecting his unique blend of beliefs and superstitions. Mika Salo, leaking steward penalties. Mika Salo, a Formula F1 driver with a tenure from 1994 to 2002, transitioned into the role of a driver's steward following his retirement, and his expertise and insight made him a valuable addition to the stewarding team, entrusted with adjudicating on-track incidents and enforcing race regulations. During the 2020 Russian Grand Prix, there was controversy regarding Lewis Hamilton's pre-race conduct. As the pole sitter, Hamilton executed 2 practice starts outside the designated area at the end of the pit lane, a violation of race protocols. This transgression prompted an investigation by the stewards, casting a shadow over Hamilton's race prospects. Notably, just before the formation lap began, Finnish broadcaster Seymour's lead commentator, Nikki Jusela, remarked on air that they anticipated Hamilton would receive 2 5-second time penalties for his indiscretions. Astonishingly, mere moments later, the stewards announced precisely that, 2 5-second penalties for Hamilton. This sequence of events fueled speculation and raised eyebrows within the Formula One community. Some suggested that Salo, who had previously collaborated with Jusela as a commentator, may have been privy to insider information regarding steward decisions. The conjecture gained traction when a screenshot emerged showing Salo seated in the stewarding room with his mobile phone conspicuously placed on the table in front of him. Despite the circumstantial evidence, both Salo and Jusela vehemently denied any impropriety. They maintained that there was no communication or collusion regarding steward decisions, attributing the coincidence to mere chance. Nevertheless, the incident left lingering doubts and underscored the delicate balance between transparency and integrity in the world of motorsport officiating. Sergio Perez got caught cheating on his wife. Following his victory at the Monaco Grand Prix in 2022, Sergio Perez found himself under the spotlight for reasons beyond his performance on the track. A video surfaced showing Perez in seemingly intimate proximity with a brunette during a yacht party following the race. The incident caught the attention of Sophie Kumpen, the mother of fellow Formula One driver Max Verstappen, who publicly called out Perez on Instagram for allegedly cheating on his wife. In response to Kumpen's comment, Perez took to social media to address the accusations and apologize to his wife. He emphasized that videos capturing moments of his life don't fully represent who he is as a person. Perez expressed regret over the situation and stated his intention to move past the controversy, emphasizing the importance of focusing on the positive moments shared with his family. This incident not only sparked discussions within the Formula One community, but also shed light on the challenges and scrutiny that professional athletes face in the public eye, particularly regarding their personal lives. Despite the temporary turbulence caused by the controversy, Perez's commitment to his family and determination to preserve their cherished moments together remained unwavering. Leclerc's sacrifices. The narrative surrounding Charles Leclerc, both on and off the track, has sparked speculation with intrigue within the Formula One community. Known for his undeniable talent behind the wheel, Leclerc has also faced a series of personal tragedies that seem to intertwine with his racing milestones. In 2014, Leclerc experienced the bittersweet culmination of his first year in single-seaters. While he achieved commendable success, finishing as the runner-up in the Formula Renault 2.0 Alps Championship and being crowned junior champion, tragedy struck simultaneously. The same weekend marked the fatal accident of his godfather, Jules Bianchi, at Suzuka, casting a shadow over Leclerc's achievements. The pattern continued in mid-2017 when Leclerc suffered the loss of his father, Hervé. Remarkably, just 4 days after this devastating blow, Leclerc demonstrated remarkable resilience on the track. He clinched the pole position, secured victory, and set the fastest lap in the Formula 2 race at Baku, ultimately paving the way for his championship triumph. The Belgian Grand Prix of 2019 unfolded as another poignant chapter in Leclerc's story. Tragedy struck once more when his close friend, Antoine Hubert, tragically lost his life in a Formula 2 feature race on the Saturday. Despite the somber atmosphere, Leclerc delivered a stellar performance the following day, clinching his maiden Formula One Grand Prix victory, and these uncanny intersections between personal loss and professional triumphs have fueled speculation and even conspiracy theories among fans and observers. However, many regard these occurrences as mere coincidences, acknowledging the unpredictability of life's twists and turns. Only time will tell if Leclerc's journey culminates in championship glory, but for now, these moments stand as testaments to his resilience and determination in the face of adversity. Bottom level. Kimi should have 4 titles. So, we're continuing this from the middle level segment about Kimi having 3 titles. In the tumultuous Formula One season of 2008, one figure often overlooked amidst the drama was the defending champion, Kimi Räikkönen. Having clinched the title by a mere point in 2007, Räikkönen's tenure with the Scuderia Ferrari began with promise, replacing the legendary Michael Schumacher. However, behind the scenes, a battle for his seat brewed between conflicting factions within the team, with Luca Di Montezemolo advocating for Fernando Alonso, while Jean Todt staunchly supported Räikkönen. Räikkönen's title defense started on a positive note, with strong performances in the early races. Victories in Malaysia and Spain propelled him to an early lead in the championship, despite fierce competition from rivals Massa and Hamilton, who faced setbacks of their own. As whispers of Alonso potentially joining Ferrari circulated, Räikkönen faced mounting pressure both on and off the track. A string of incidents, including a controversial penalty in Monaco and a collision with Hamilton in the pit lane in Canada, saw his championship lead dwindle. In the midst of uncertainty about his future with Ferrari, Räikkönen's performance began to wane. Changes to his car setup, supervised by his predecessor Michael Schumacher, led to a noticeable drop in pace and raised questions about his commitment and motivation. And despite these challenges, Räikkönen's resilience shone through on occasion, such as his impressive victory in Belgium before a late race crash dashed his hopes. Ultimately, contractual negotiations behind closed doors sealed his fate, with Alonso announced as his replacement for the following season. The remainder of the season saw mixed fortunes for Räikkönen, with standout performances tempered by unfortunate incidents. However, his loyalty to Ferrari and his stoic demeanor in the face of adversity earned him respect within the paddock. Vettel's illegal chassis. In 2017, the regulations were changed to restore some of the downforce and torque that had been lost when the hybrid era began in 2014, and this greatly reduced Mercedes' advantage. And Sebastian Vettel, in his 4th year with Ferrari, finally had a shot at winning the championship. Even though his car wasn't great in qualifying, he dominated races and held the championship lead for the entire season. His car wasn't particularly strong in qualifying, but had a very good race pace, and he led the championship for the first 12 rounds of the season, and his primary rival, Lewis Hamilton, returned from the summer break with a vengeance, defeating him in Belgium and then again in Italy to seize the championship lead. The following round came in Singapore, where Vettel scored a commanding pole position at a track he had won 4 times previously, but Hamilton faltered and finished in 5th place. Unfortunately, Vettel should have regained the lead in the championship, but his start-finish mistake caused a 4-car pileup, which awarded the lead and the victory to Hamilton, and this essentially created a 40-point swing, increasing Hamilton's lead to 28 points. In the following round in Malaysia, Vettel tried out a new power unit, but it didn't work in qualifying. Thus, he got a poor starting position and Hamilton took pole. but he battled his way up to 4th place in the race, and Hamilton finished 2nd behind Max Verstappen. Unfortunately, he was hitched to Pascal Wehrle's transport back in the pits after the race after being unexpectedly rear-ended by Lance Stroll on the parade lap. Despite only adding 6 points to Hamilton's lead, the race of damage limitation was a relative triumph. Something didn't add up. Ferrari had to put all their eggs in Vettel's basket if they still wanted him to win the championship, as he was more than 100 points clear of Kimi Räikkönen. Naturally, Vettel experienced an engine breakdown during practice and had to deal with the second malfunctioning engine. But Räikkönen's car was behaving normally, therefore he qualified 2nd, less than 0.05 of a second behind Hamilton, which meant Vettel should have been on pole. If they wanted to avoid breaking the curfew and parc fermé, and if they ended up realizing they couldn't fix the problem anyway, they could have easily switched cars with Räikkönen and Vettel, swapped seats, and adjusted their pedals, steering wheels, and car numbers so no one would have guessed. On race day, Vettel will be driving Räikkönen's car, which puts him in last place, while Räikkönen will start from 1st place in Vettel's pitted car. While circling back to the grid, Räikkönen observed that his car was experiencing power troubles. However, he was told to proceed to the grid as scheduled, where the crew would attempt to resolve the issue. Räikkönen does not begin the race, and it appears that the crew inspects the car before deciding it cannot be repaired. They have the car pushed off the grid and concealed in the garage as quickly as possible. Now that Vettel has moved up to 4th place and Hamilton is in 2nd, there's a new issue: how to return to the garage without race control inspecting it closely. Upon noticing Stroll in his rearview mirror, Vettel abruptly reverses his course. Unfortunately, he received a powerful hit from behind, ripping off a wheel and the rear wing. Fortunately, he was able to catch a ride back with Wehrle, and while doing so, he casually parked his car in the back of a tow truck and is escorted back to Ferrari, avoiding the usual parking spot. After Vettel's return to his car in Japan, avoidant of any confrontation with the stewards, his engine nearly fails on the grid and eventually dies during the race, reducing an 18-point deficit to just 6 points. As a result, Hamilton gains an additional 25 points on him. The difference between being and not being champion can be compared to a loose headrest, 1 mistake in judgment, and 2 engine failures. Colin Chapman faked his own death. Colin Chapman was an innovative force in Formula One and the brains of Lotus cars. Before his sudden death at the age of 54 from a heart attack in December 1982, coinciding with the ground effect era that he caused in 1977, he oversaw the firm and the Formula One team. But some think Chapman actually pretended to die and then ran away to Brazil. Let us explain. Aside from Formula One, Lotus Cars was also a thriving sports car manufacturer, known for the Elan and the Esprit. Chapman had also set up performance consulting with General Motors and the iconic DeLorean from Back to the Future. Former General Motors executive John Z. DeLorean established the DeLorean Motor Company. Established in 1975 with £54 million from the British government, DeLorean aimed to create jobs and stimulate the economy in Belfast, Northern Ireland, a city plagued by the Troubles. General Product Development Services, a Panama-registered Swiss firm, paid Chapman and Lotus for designing the iconic DMC, DeLorean's sole production car, and the British government provided slightly less than half of the funding. Due to low sales of the DMC, the record label declared bankruptcy in 1982. Following this, DeLorean faced arrest and charges of importing cocaine valued at $24 million into the U.S. He was subsequently found not guilty in 1984, but his reputation was severely damaged. 2 months following his apprehension, Chapman succumbed to a heart attack during questioning by British authorities over the whereabouts of the government's funds. Lotus accountant Fred Bushell faced charges of trying to defraud DeLorean of more than £5 million, nearly all of which came from funds provided by the British government 10 years later. He was given a 4-year prison term after pleading guilty. The trial judge maintained that Chapman would have gotten a minimum of 10 years if he were living today. In the past, 10 years ago, when Chapman realizes that his DeLorean is going to crash any day, he renews his life insurance and private pilot's license to protect his wife Hazel. Then, with the help of a coroner, he creates a death certificate and a phony corpse that no one save Hazel and the coroner can see. Many prominent figures from the Formula One world, such as Mario Andretti and Emerson Fittipaldi, were unable to attend the funeral and burial of Chapman, which supposedly took place in the churchyard of St. Mary's Church in East Charlton, outside of Norfolk in Norway. According to Chapman's wife, who is the custodian of the churchyard, the date of Chapman's death was altered in the parish records, and the coroner who was responsible for filing his death certificate disappeared without a trace. After that, Chapman takes a private jet to Paris, a commercial flight to Brazil, a name change, plastic surgery, and fingerprint erasure. Even Eichmann did not go to such lengths. Hazel, who was Chapman's widow, was seen at the Brazilian Grand Prix 3 months later. She stayed in the country for more than a month. In 1985, Emerson Fittipaldi, who had won the title with Lotus in 1972, saw Hazel at the airport in Brazil. She claimed to be there for holidays, which was quite unusual given her fear of flying, which had kept her grounded for more than a decade prior. In December 2021, at the age of 94, Hazel passed away, nearly precisely 39 years after Colin is said to have passed away. One way to find out is to visit St. Mary's Churchyard at night with a shovel and an oil lamp. Another option is to ask around Sao Paulo for any information about an engineer named Coutinho Champanes, who worked for Stock Car Brazil in the 80s and 90s. Jos Verstappen is an a-hole. I mean, this isn't that big of a controversy, but a fact. However, many of you do not know that Jos, who, despite a long and storied career, failed to achieve the success of his kid prodigy. Verstappen's senior career got off to nearly as big a flyer as his son's. After impressing in early testing opportunities, he earned the chance with Michael Schumacher's Drivers' Championship-winning Benetton squad in 1994. His time in F1 could have ended in early tragedy, though, when a pit lane fire created one of the sport's most iconic images, with Jos luckily escaping with only minor burns. More famous, though, Verstappen Sr. was outside of the track as he displayed a dark side. He was given a 5-year suspension prison sentence in 2000 for fracturing a man's skull in an incident at a karting track 2 years earlier. Then, in December 2008, amidst the period of separation, Verstappen found himself embroiled in legal proceedings in Tongeren, Belgium, following allegations of assault against his wife, Sophie Kumpen. Although ultimately acquitted on the assault charges, Verstappen was found guilty of making threatening statements towards Kumpen via text messages, as well as violating a pre-existing restraining order. Consequently, he received a fine and was handed a 3-month suspended prison sentence, coupled with a probationary period. And if that wasn't enough, on November 29, 2011, the media stirred with reports alleging that Verstappen had assaulted his former girlfriend. However, Verstappen refuted these claims, asserting that their interaction was merely a discussion. Subsequently, in January 2012, he faced more serious allegations when he was arrested on charges of attempted murder after purportedly driving a vehicle into his ex-girlfriend in Rearman. However, just 2 weeks later, Verstappen was released as the charge was retracted, and despite the wild events, Verstappen and his ex-girlfriend, Kelly van der Waal, reconciled their relationship and took it to the next level by tying the knot in 2014. Their union bore fruit with the birth of their daughter, Blue Jay, in September 2014. Nevertheless, their marital journey encountered further challenges, leading to their divorce finalized on June 2, 2017. Graham Hill 1963 French Grand Prix penalty. In the annals of Formula One history, the incident that occurred at the French Grand Prix in 1963 and involved Graham Hill is indelible. During the course of the race, Hill's BRM experienced a malfunction on the starting grid, which caused it to become stuck. As a result of this, track marshals rushed to his aid and allegedly gave him a push start in order to get his vehicle moving again. However, because it was against the regulations to get assistance from outside sources while on the grid, Hill was given a 1-minute penalty as a consequence of its violation. Hill demonstrated amazing talent and drive, moving through the field at an incredible pace, despite the fact that he suffered this setback. Hill was able to not only overcome the penalty, but also take the victory in the race, which is a tremendous demonstration of driving prowess on Hill's part. The fact that he was able to overcome challenges and yet emerge victorious solidified his position as one of the most accomplished drivers in the history of Formula One. James Courtney Jaguar test. As a Jaguar F1 youngster, James Courtney was fascinated in the British F3 Championship and came perilously close to earning a spot in the Formula One team's lineup. He put in a lot of hours of testing, frequently with experimental parts, for the Jaguar team, but all that changed when he was involved in a terrible incident in the 2002 Monza race, thus ending his dreams of competing in Formula One. Although Courtney had experienced crashes previously, this one was especially terrifying, with an estimated 67 Gs, or 67 times the force of gravity. When his chances of life seemed slim, he enlisted the help of Michael Schumacher, who translated vital messages from Italian marshals and managed to emerge victorious. Surprisingly, Courtney has helped Schumacher out in a comparable situation at the same spot before. The fallout was so bad that Courtney had trouble walking for almost a year, suffered from crippling headaches, and had a long road to rehabilitation ahead of him. He eventually settled with Supercars Championship in Australia after exploring other racing series in Japan and realizing that a return to the physically demanding world of Formula One seemed unlikely. Monza, often called the Temple of Speed, was an intimidating place for a rookie to navigate experimental gear. A high-speed crash with the wall and Courtney's unsettling return to the track added to the track's already well-known reputation for major incidents. He was momentarily blind and his eyes were bleeding from the hit, a sobering reminder of the tremendous physical toll that crashes like these exact. From a promising Formula One driver to a fighter coping with the after effects of a devastating accident, this event was a turning point in Courtney's career. So that's going to do it for today, guys. If you liked the video, please like and subscribe and let us know your thoughts in the comments below about which of these Iceberg parts you like or found the most interesting. Thank you, and we'll see you in the next video.